Oh, thank you, Destiny. Green and chilling. All right. So we have been talking about our test for a while now. It is time. Time for the test is tomorrow. Now I know you're gonna be real bummed out because I've been following y'all through your other classes, especially for just y'all in Carpios. Like we're gonna do the same kind of thing with Insight, but that's only a very, very small part of our day because we have a whole lot of other stuff to do. But if you haven't been paying attention, then today is your last day to ignore it. Tomorrow is our multiple choice exam. It's going to cover the entire unit. Uh, so that means everything all the way back going to symbiosis and then all the stuff to succession. So you'll see that I replaced over here the essential questions with essential content. So here's everything that's going to be on the test. All that junk. And even a little bit of adaptation. Not a whole lot, maybe one question over the stuff that you're doing on your project. But that's pretty much it. So assign yourself. There's not really any homework except for your biome project, which is due today. So if there's any downtime today when you're working through stuff, make sure that you can always go back to that. Now, if you look at our objective for today is to practice our claim evidence reasoning. If you remember, our test is divided up into two different parts. So the first part we're doing tomorrow, that's going to be your multiple choice exam. Then the day after that, on Wednesday, you're doing the essay portion. I had thought about doing the essay portion today, but I didn't want to overwhelm you guys. So we'll have multiple choice tomorrow, essay on Wednesday. It's not going to take the whole time. What we'll do is I'll have a brief lesson on Wednesday. We'll talk about evolution stuff. And then right about midpoint, I'll stop and then we'll move on to our essay. So you're not going to have a full class to write it, but as you see today, you don't necessarily need a whole class to write a claim evidence reasoning essay. And we'll get to that here in a second. Our do now is going to take a few minutes, and we're going to do a guided practice, which again is going to be our claim evidence reasoning. Good morning, Zaria. I'm sorry, good afternoon, Zaria. Then we're going to do independent practice, which is going to be finishing up that claim evidence reasoning, and then we're going to move on to our exit ticket. The exit ticket for today is going to be like a little mini review for your test tomorrow. There's not a whole bunch of questions. There's only like 6 questions, but each one of them hits a topic covered on your exam. So if you struggle with any one of those questions, that's where you should definitely study for tonight. Because again, tomorrow you have your multiple choice exam. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with the do now. Remember to be positive and enjoy life and sweat the small stuff to get to success. So we're going to give you 5, actually less, I'm going to give you 3 minutes to answer this do now question. Oh yeah, you can't hear it, sorry, because the volume's too low.
Mr. Martinez,
Mm-hmm.
none of my messages are sending in the chat box.
I'm sorry, what were you trying to say?
Um, you know how I like enter every class like great afternoon? I was trying to do that, but it wouldn't send.
That's okay.
So if you if you get it's like the end of class and it sends great afternoon, just know that was for the beginning of class.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Also, good afternoon, Brighton. Looking for answers in the chat. Thank you, Brighton. Thank you, Brandon. For those of you who haven't noticed yet, this is a math question. A little less than a minute left. Looking for answers in the chat. Thank you, Hugo. Thank you, Timothy. Thank you, Rosario. I'm going to back up a little bit. I'm going to give about just a few more seconds. I'm missing a lot of people in the chat. I'll give you a couple more seconds. Oh, there you go. See me and Josiah, Miguel, Miguel. I know math is scary, but it's the end of the day. We're almost there. Grace. Okay. So I will admit this one was a little bit tricky because there was a lot of math involved and you had to kind of keep track of where you were. Or if you, like I said at the beginning, if you're real smart, you can just move the decimal around. So how about Hugo? Would you mind coming off mute and telling us what you got?
Hello?
I can hear you.
Okay, wait, what was your question again?
My question was your answer.
Okay, what I got was 319 as the energy transfer to the tertiary.
How'd you get that?
Because you have to take 10% from the oak tree energy that gets from the sun. So, like, you have to not divide, but, like, get 10% of 319,000 and then do that 3 times until you go to the tertiary.
There you go. I think I noticed that with some of the other ones. They didn't do it 3 times. So again, the question's asking about tertiary consumer. So excellent, Hugo, you picked up on it. So the caterpillar would be primary consumer, that blue jay, secondary, and then the hawk is tertiary. So it was actually 3 math problems in one. So let's go ahead one. So there's 10% from the oak tree to the caterpillar. So that's where you get that 31,900. Then you take 10% of that to get 3,190. Then you take 10% of that to get to our answer, which was 319. And again, like I mentioned, you could use decimal point if you're real good at math. So there's this point here at the end of 319,000. We're going up 1, 2, 3 levels. Then you go 1, 2, 3 to 319. But that's a little bit more complex, and I would recommend doing the math way if that way makes more sense to you. Okay. The reason I put this on here, and I'm glad I did, was it looks like a lot of y'all are a little rusty when it comes to your energy pyramids. There will be a question like this on the test tomorrow. So if this is still a foreign concept to you, use this time right now to ask. So if you have a question about how this works, maybe it didn't make any sense to you, or maybe you felt lost, please tell me now before we move on, because we have other stuff to do. But I do want to clear up any misunderstandings if there are any. I know, Timothy, I'm sorry. It is kind of a low-res image, but I liked it. I also liked it because it said kcals instead of joules. A lot of the problems that we've been doing have been joules, so I thought it would be fun to mix it up and put one with kcals. But, I mean, don't worry about it. The units are not as important as the concept. As long as you understand the 10% rule, that's what matters. Okay, so I'm not seeing anybody in the chat ask any questions. I'm not seeing any hands raised. So that is giving me the all clear that we can move ahead. Okay, so I know that you're going to roll your eyes at this, but we have to get ready for our test tomorrow. Okay, good. We do have a question. Let's go back. All right, so Eileen, yeah, what we're doing is we're just taking 10%. So remember that part of this is that 90% of the energy available is lost to the environment as heat. It's just lost to the system. So for example, we see that the oak tree had 319,000, right? That's from the 3 million that the sun brought. So that 319,000 to 31,000, you're losing 90%. So only 10% of the energy, so 31,900 is 10% of 319,000. So 10% of the energy is transferred to the next level. That other 90% is gone. So I'm not good at math, but let's say it's, 200,000, whatever, right? That 200,000 is gone. That 31,000 is what's left over. That's all. Right. That's part of the reason why it's so crazy is because you're losing so much energy going up the food chain. And that's why these carnivores at the top are always trying to eat a lot because they need the energy. Okay? Okay. So, if you haven't already, go ahead and go to illuminate.online. Hopefully you have all of this done before so you know your student ID number, all that. If you don't, go ahead and message me real quick and I can get that to you. But at this point, I think I'm probably the last one to put you guys into Illuminate, so hopefully that means that a lot of you have already done this step. But what you're going to do is you're going to go to illuminate.online. You're going to put in this code. Now, the exam that you're going to see is not a credit exam. It's not something to scare you. I did put some sciencey questions on there for fun, but don't worry about that. All I want to do is make sure that everybody has access to Illuminate before our test tomorrow. So I'm going to give us about 5 minutes to do this. I'm going to be using the active feature so that I can monitor you guys as you're coming in, and I can check to see who's not. In the meantime, if you're able to get on real quick, you're able to do those 3 questions, and you're done, then go ahead and finish your mini biome project, which is due today. That's the one with the adaptions in the animals. So if you have not finished your project that's due today, then you can work on that. Otherwise, you're logging into Illuminate. Yeah, go ahead.
So basically, Mr. Raymond, so the Illuminate will be our guided practice, and then the project will be our independent practice?
No, the guided practice is going to be the CER that we're going to work on here in a little bit.
Okay.
But we'll get there. I just wanted to troubleshoot this real quick because like I said, I'm like the last person to do this, so I didn't think it would take very long. So I'm going to give us 5 minutes real quick so we can troubleshoot this to make sure that everybody can get online. And if you can't get online, then please let me know.
Could you send it like in the chat box?
Like the illuminate.online?
Uh-huh.
Mr. Martinez.
Uh-huh.
Was the project just to answer the questions that were in the slide on
Yes.
the mini biome project? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so y'all want
Actually, Mr. Raymond, I think you just put Illuminate online, but actually I meant like go to Illuminate online and enter the code.
I tell my parents that they are too young to be acting that old. I think you guys are too young to be acting that old. There you go. So there is the link. What you do is when you click that, you're going to enter your student login, which is your ID number, and then the access code, which is what you see on the screen right now, RS3P42D. And I'm going to go ahead and hop on to my live proctoring so I can see who's coming in. Oh, good. I'm already seeing a lot of people in here. Thank you. Hugo is in. Josiah's in. Giselle is in. Grace, Cameron, Brighton, Jerry, Ayana, Casey, Karina, Adasa, Denise. Yeah, so remember that when it comes to taking these exams, the school policy is now that you have to be logged in that day to take the exam. We can still give you the opportunity to make up the grade, but it'll have to be something different. It won't be this. So keep that in mind that during test day, which is tomorrow, that you need to be logged in, you need to be able to access Illuminate. That way you can do it. So I'm seeing about 12 people in here, so we're missing quite a few, at least 50 people. Whoops, sorry. Oh, I almost had the timer, sorry. Yeah, so we're gonna take 5 minutes. If you finish this, then work on your biome project. If you are having trouble, please let me know so that I can help you. No, it's not counted as a grade. This is just for troubleshooting purposes. Okay, thank you. Got a lot more in here. So we got 26. Still missing about 20 students. All right, we're at 30, so we're a little more than halfway there. Thank you guys for getting online. $35. Thank you guys. So again, the reason that they're making us do this is that we can keep track of you so that we do it on test day as indicated. Otherwise, we'll probably have to do a makeup test, which is probably not going to be multiple choice. It'll probably end up being more like an essay test. So it's easier for you. It's easier for us if you just are able to log in on the day and take the test as it is.
Oh snap! Okay, that was my bad.
Thank you, Keelan. We're still missing probably about 20 or so people. Oop. Sorry. Thank you, Ayana. All right, the numbers are really slowed down, so we stopped at about 37. I'm still missing probably at least 20 people, maybe almost 30. Thank you, Zarya. Let's see, Aiden, you're not in yet. Oh, wait. Okay, 40. Now we've got 20 people away. Avery, I don't think that you're in. Damian, you're on. Cheyenne, I don't see you. Okay, so that's all the time that I wanted to allot to this. We stopped at about 40 people. So you think, you know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and make this a daily grade so that if you do get it in before the end of class, it's 100. And if you don't, it'll be not 100. How about that? So thank you to the 40 of you who already turned it in. Thank you all for that. The link doesn't expire, so you do still have time to get on there. I would like to move on, though. We can come back to this later. Now, our objective for today is to practice and complete a CER in preparation for the unit exam. So the CER stands for Claim Evidence Reasoning. So if you haven't already, go ahead and go into your assignments and download your CER practice. Should look something like this. Oh. Okay. So it should look something like this. Now, we're going to run through this together as a practice, but at the very end, you are going to present your response when we're finished. So go ahead and give me a thumbs up in the chat when you have gotten to the CER practice, you have it downloaded, and you're ready to get going. Oh, thank you, Brayden. That was a good explanation. Thank you, Zaria. Looking for a thumbs up in the chat that you guys are at the CER practice, that we can go ahead and get started. And thank you guys for continuing to log into Illuminate so that you can get that completed. Again, I'm going to make this a daily grade, so it'll probably help some people. Thank you, Frankie. So give me a thumbs up in the chat if you have gotten to your CER practice so we can go ahead and get that started.
I still can't type in the class chat box, so thumbs up.
Thank you, Casey.
You're welcome.
You know what? Let's go ahead and get started then. It seems like we're going to work on it together. Okay, so can I get someone to read the scenario for me?
I can.
Go for it. Woo.
A wildlife. Sorry. Wildfire destroys a large area of forest down to bare soil. The data table below shows the development of species in the area over time. The original forest was primarily ponderosa,
Ponderosa.
pine, absinthe, and spruce. There was also lichen present.
Lichen. Thank you, Zaria.
Lichen.
Just to make sure that I address the chat, thank you, Gila, for giving me a thumbs up. Josiah, there should be a download button next to the assignment and Teams. So Miguel, we are not on Illuminate. That was just to kind of troubleshoot to make sure that everybody could log in. We have moved back to Teams, so you have downloaded this CER practice, which is in the assignments for today. Okay, so just to go over the scenario, there has been a wildfire, destroyed a bunch of forest, and now we're tracking the plants over time. So you'll see in our chart that we've got 4 different species: lichen, aspen, spruce, ponderosa pine, and then a whole bunch of data points for 6 months, 1 year, 15 years, and 30 years. So again, we're essentially tracking growth over a 30-year time for this forest area. Now, what it's going to want you to do is to convert this into a data table. Since that's a lot of work for right now, I went ahead and did it for you. This is what it would look like. So I went ahead and called this succession, development of species over time. Now, the blue is going to be the lichen, the red is aspen, yellow spruce, and green ponderosa pine. This is just the representation of this data. That's all that happened. I went ahead and put this into a chart, and then I created a line graph from it. So for example, lichen goes 100% at 6 months, 79% at 1 year, 5% at 16 years, and 2% at 30 years. So that's what this blue line is. Starts over here at 100, and then slowly goes down over those 30 years, because again, at the very end it's 2%, so 2% is all the way down here, so it goes all the way down. So for this particular lichen species, there's a whole lot of it, and it goes all the way down here. Right, so Josiah, there is a blank document for you to write on, but the PDF is going to be where all this stuff is. So again, the reason I upload those blank docs is because if I just gave you the PDF, a lot of people don't know how to edit it. So I give you like a blank doc, like a piece of paper, so that you can write down your answers on it. Okay, so Clint, are you still lost? Do you know what we're doing?
Sir, can you invite Shraven to the call?
Can I what?
Invite Shraven.
Yes. And then Clint, I don't know what no means. Does no mean no you're not lost, or no you don't know what we're doing? And Sherivan has been invited. Thank you for letting me know. We can find the PDF, Josiah, in the assignments tab, just like normal assignments. Just go to the assignments tab in Teams, and there should be a succession CER practice there. So what we're doing is we're working on the claim evidence reason practice. It's an assignment just like normal, right? So go to your assignments tab. There should be a succession CER practice there. There's a PDF and a blank doc. That way you can work on the blank doc and not worry about editing the PDF. So what we've been doing is we've been given a scenario about a wildfire destroying a bunch of area. And now we're trying to figure out what's going to happen after. So because there was a fire, everything is destroyed, right? So you're looking at lichens, aspen, spruce, ponderosa pine. These are all species of plants, right? We know that lichens are involved usually in succession. So here we see that at 100%. However, because we're dealing with a wildfire, I would say that we're in a secondary succession because even though it's gone down to the bare soil, it didn't start over, right? We're not dealing with rocks per se. The soil is already there. The wildfire is like a natural disaster. It didn't necessarily like destroy the entire ecosystem, right? We're not dealing with like a lava flow. So it's not primary succession, this is secondary succession. But we do have a lot of lichen present because it's avascular, so it can kind of go wherever. But the trees are all gone, right? 0%. So right after the fire, there's nothing, right? Because the fire kind of got rid of all plant life. So then, after 6 months, you go to a year, you start to see some growth, right? 1% here at the spruce, 20% on the aspen trees, nothing on ponderosa quite yet.
Okay,
Then you
so
go to, go ahead.
okay, so Mr. Raymond, so basically like the CER blank is for like the guided and independent practice. Is that what you mean? Because
Yeah, so we're in the guided practice now. I guess I should have put that on here so y'all wouldn't feel as lost. Whoop, my bad.
yeah, and I don't have the tab to do this one. Actually, I have the blank one, but uh, could you would you mind sending this like with the practice thing so I wouldn't be lost like in the chat?
Let me double check to make sure that I uploaded it because it seems like if a lot of people are having trouble finding it, maybe I didn't put it in there. Although no, some people put thumbs up that they had it, right?
Wait, sir. So I have the slide for it, and then I have a separate sheet for like to put the work on.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't. I guess I can attach it to the. Yeah, I'll attach the thing to the chat for those of you who are having a hard time finding it. There you go. I didn't know we could do that. That's pretty interesting. Okay, so I attached it. It should take a little bit to send because it is a document, but I did attach it into the chat just now. But okay, going back to this. So what I did was I converted that data table into a chart. So you can see here that the lichen decreases over time. We look at the aspen, it increases and then kind of decreases. Same thing with the spruce. Ponderosa pine starts to increase while the other ones are decreasing. So again, we're looking at like a period of 30 years. So it does take quite a while. Sorry, the scenario that it was posing to you was asking you to create this. I went ahead and created it for you because I didn't think we'd have time to like draw a whole data table. So I'll be referencing this picture every now and then, but I wanted you to see the broad strokes what it looks like. Okay, now we get into our prompt. So write a scientific explanation describing how the ecosystem would be restored over time. In your evidence, be sure to include a line graph based on the data table above. So again, I went ahead and made that data table for you, but we're going to be referencing it during our claim evidence reasoning. Now, I'm not super familiar with you guys' education. I don't know how many times you've done CER before, but I wanted to go ahead and run through kind of what my expectations are for this, for your exam. So, claim evidence reasoning. What I'm looking for in each one of these categories, your claim, I'm specifically looking for like a hypothesis. So we're presented with this situation, right? We got a wildfire in a forest, some stuff died and some stuff starts to grow. The prompt is asking you to write a scientific explanation describing how the ecosystem would be restored over time. So we've got a chart with about 30 years worth of data. You can kind of start to see some trends. And what the question is trying to get at is, what do you think is going to happen? So we see here what has already happened, but it wants you to start extrapolating what's going to happen even after this. So that's part of your claim, right? That's your hypothesis. That's your educated guess, what you think is going to happen. So I went ahead and gave you some like starters, right? I believe that dot dot dot. I believe that something is going to happen, and then again in that little blank put something specific, right? I believe that lichen is going to grow. I mean, it doesn't look like it's going to. I'm just giving you an example. But see how the lichen kind of goes down, right? So that's not going to happen. But an educated guess. Educated guess is something that can be tested, something that is, what's the word? Not quantifiable, but testable, I guess is the word I'm looking for. What I would rather you do is right here, based on the data. So what I want you to do is to look at the chart, look at the numbers that they're giving you, and then draw your conclusions or draw your assumptions from that. So based off the data that we see, like I said, the lichen is going all the way down to 0, right? It stops here at about 30 years at 2%. My guess would be that that lichen's going to go down to 0. When it comes to your claim, evidence, and reasoning for this specific assignment, it's pretty broad, right? It's not giving you like exactly what it is. Like, does it want to know about the lichens? Does it want to know about the aspen or the spruce or pine? Does it want to know about all of them? So it's kind of leaving it up to you how specific you want to be with this response. So like I said, I want to be checking in with you guys later to see what it is that you decided. But I wanted to go ahead and make that clear, that it's not asking necessarily about something specific.
Mr. Raymond,
Uh-huh.
would you mind if I done this on a piece of paper and just send it?
That's fine. You can do that.
Okay. Okay. But would you mind leaving this on the screen so I can just get it?
I'll leave it on here for a second, but I got to keep going. Okay. So I'll leave that for 1 second. In the meantime, what I would like for you to do is to... Oh, it didn't send. I was like, I thought it would have sent. Okay, well, never mind. I tried sending it through the chat, it didn't work, but I promise you that if you go to the assignments, in fact, I'm going to double check right now. Student view. Yeah, it's there. So just make sure that you download it from your assignment, because again, it is there. Sorry I didn't send through the chat. But okay. So claim, evidence, reasoning. We got our claim. We figured out what the claim means, right? Educated guess. Evidence, now you're supporting it with your data. So like I said, I believe that lichen is going to go down to 0%. It's not quite there yet, but that's what I believe. The reason I think that is because looking at the data, it starts off very high, right? Lichens at around 6 months, 100%. As we go forward in time, it starts to go down and down and down, so that by 30 years, there's only 2% left. So my assumption based on this data is that there will be no lichen in the future, right? So after 30 years, the lichen will disappear from this ecosystem. That is my hypothesis. The data that I'm using is going to be what I just said, that we can see the trend is going down over the 30-year course. And my reasoning is that lichens are mostly used for primary succession, right? There's no lava, there's no rocks to break down, the soil's already there, so the lichen doesn't really serve a purpose at this point. It looks like there's trees coming in after the lichen, so odds are the trees are going to take up most of the nutrients, most of the space in the system, leaving very little, next to nothing for the lichen, which will make it go away. And there you go. That's my claim, evidence, and reasoning. My claim, again, lichens will go down to 0. Evidence is that chart that we just saw a second ago. It's going down to 0 eventually. And then my reasoning is that the lichens is mostly used for primary succession, right? Looks like we're in a secondary succession situation. Trees are coming back, soil's already present, so there's no need for the lichen to be there. And there you go. That would be my claim, evidence, and reasoning response for this prompt. So these are not necessarily difficult. They do require a certain skill, though. So I also put some exemplars there for your evidence. The population of lichens decreases over the years as it is replaced by other larger tree species. You can also reference exact data points. All populations of non-lichen species start at 0% at 6 months, but over time they start to go up and go up, as opposed to the lichen species that continues to go down. So I'm referencing the data in the graph always. That's why I'm making a claim. That's how I'm supporting it. And then, of course, my reasoning was about what I know about primary and secondary succession. Okay, does anybody have any questions about that yet?
Can I copy it?
Huh? Oh, the chart, sure.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
No, not that one. The other one.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you understand. That way I know that we're all kind of tracking it. We know what we're doing. Then I'm going to give you some time for you to go ahead and construct your response to this question. Thank you, Grace.
Oh, now, Mr. Raymond, once I send this to you, once I'm done with this, I'll send it to you.
Okay, we're going to share out here in a few minutes.
Okay.
So I'm just seeing the one. I'm just seeing the one thumbs up from Grace. Is there anybody else who feels like they're lost or doesn't know what to do? Otherwise, give me a thumbs up in the chat so I know that we're doing okay.
I'm a little bit lost, but I think I get the gist kind of what we're doing.
What are you doing?
Just writing a claim and then after that explaining what's happening and write a hypothesis and then you're kind of explaining what's happening in the graphs and then after that I'm a little bit lost.
That's pretty much it. You're making a claim based on the graph. You're supporting it with data from the graph, and then you're explaining why you claimed the thing you claimed. So like I claimed that I think that lichen's going to go down to 0, and the reason the data that I used was the trend going down in the graph, and then the reasoning was that lichens are more used in primary succession, and this wildfire looks like it's more of a secondary succession situation, so lichen's not necessary. It'll be crowded out by those larger tree species and
Okay.
replaced.
Mr. Raymond.
Uh-huh.
Actually, I was not going to take a picture of it, but do you see it?
I can't quite see it, so a picture might be better.
Okay. How about now?
I just see your face, so I don't see it. Oh, there it goes. Okay. That's good.
Okay. Oh yeah,
All right,
Mr.
so again, we do have one of these coming up on Wednesday, so now is the time to ask questions. If you're feeling lost or you're not sure what to do about claim evidence and reasoning, please let me know now so we can address those concerns.
Can you go over the reasoning one more time, sir?
Yeah, so the specific claim that I made was about the lichens, right? So the lichens, looking at our data, it goes from 100% development all the way down to like 2%, so almost 0. So my claim is that I believe that the lichen species will disappear from this ecosystem because it's being replaced by much larger species, right? By other trees. So that's my claim. My evidence is that looking at the graph, I notice a downward trend, and after about 30 years, there's only about 2% of it. So I believe that after that, it's going to go down to 0. My reasoning, the reason I think this is because lichen are mostly responsible for primary succession. They break down rocks to create soil. This wildfire, while it did destroy a lot of trees, it did not ruin the soil. The soil is still there. So it doesn't go back to 0, right? It's not starting with the rocks. It's not having to be broken down. So the lichen is going to be crowded out by these larger tree species over time to the point where it's not going to factor in, I think. It'll disappear. At least that's what I think. And that's my reasoning, because this is not a primary succession situation. This is a secondary succession situation. So I'm giving a reason as to why I believe what I think my claim is trying to get at. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this claim evidence reasoning is very specific. The one in your test is going to be a little bit broader, so there'll be more room to interpret it. But I wanted to give you something kind of specific right off the bat so that you kind of understand the process of claim evidence reasoning. Okay, good question. Anybody else? Is anybody else fighting this, or does it make sense and it's just taking some time? Does anybody want to share what they've written as far as a claim evidence and reasoning?
I could try.
Go for it.
Okay, let me get it ready. Okay, so for the first one, I said I think the lichen decreases as aspen, spruce, and ponderosa pine will increase. And then my evidence is on the graph, the lichen decreases as the others increase. And then my reason is because the lichen is the primary succession and is only there to start it. And then it just gets replaced.
That's very good. Thank you, Hamza. The only thing that I would add to that at the very end would be that because the trees are increasing, that means that there's less area for the lichen to thrive, right? The trees are probably going to be taking a lot more of the resources. So that could be another reason why the lichen are decreasing, is because it's being replaced by another species. But other than that, excellent. Very good. I think I saw Casey light up. Did you have something you wanted to share too?
Wait, what was the question?
Just to share your answer.
Oh, all I have is that the lichen would decrease, and I know this because in the graph the lichen is decreasing. That was it.
Okay. Make sure that you also include a reasoning to that.
Oh, as in why it's decreasing?
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, let me see what's increasing first, and then that would be why it's decreasing. So
Wait, sir,
Mm-hmm.
what about the rebuttal part? Are we doing that yet? Or
No, thank you for reminding me. So we're not worrying about the rebuttal.
okay.
For your test, we're just doing the claim, evidence, and reasoning. Also, Mr. JJ put in something really good in the chat. I wish I would have thought of it. Take it one step at a time. Start with your claim, statement, answer, or opinion, then your evidence, factor data, and then in your reasoning, explain your rationale very well and connect your claim to your evidence. So I know this is difficult. I might see if we can try and do one more tomorrow because we're getting pretty close to the end of class here, and I want to make sure that you have plenty of time for your exit ticket. But yeah, the thing that I was saying about the lichen, that was just my example. There are a lot of different ways that you could have taken this. You could have focused in on like the ponderosa pine. Like if you notice that if you're going back to the data, whoop, it goes 0, 0, and then after 15 years, it's a long time, it's 2% growth. And then after 30 years, 48% growth. So it sprouts up. So you might notice that these other two tree species, they start to increase a little bit during the 15-year period, but then they start to decrease while this other tree starts to increase. And so it could kind of be the same thing as with the lichen. You would say that, I believe that the ponderosa pine is going to be the largest percentage. How would you say that? The ponderosa pine is probably going to outnumber the other species in this ecosystem because it's increasing over that 15-year period from 15 years to 30 years. So much so that the other two tree populations have started to decrease. And that kind of makes sense because, bigger trees are going to have bigger leaves. They're going to probably shut out more sun. So if they're the ones that are growing taller, they're probably going to overtake those other two trees and totally replace them. So there's a lot of different ways you could have taken this. It's not just necessarily one way. Like I said, there's 4 different species, which means you could have 4 different interpretations at minimum of how you look at this data. You could look at it all together as a set, like I think Hamza was trying to say, or I think even Casey, I think both of them were trying to say, like as the lichen is starting to decrease, you'll notice that the other tree species are starting to increase. So you're looking at all of them as a whole. Okay,
Mr. Martinez,
go ahead.
what's really the difference between the claim and the reasoning?
So if you see in Mr. JJ's response, the important part is to make sure that you are stating a claim, that you're having the evidence to back up the claim, and then that you're able to explain what your claim, I guess not what it means, but try and justify that it's a thing. Like you could look at this data and say, you know what, I think that tornadoes played a huge role in this ecosystem. Well, that's not really, we're not seeing anything about tornadoes in here, so you're going to have to like really try and connect that through your reasoning. So the reasoning is meant to try and tie everything together. So you're making a claim based on the data. So your reasoning is supposed to kind of like make everything not make sense, but try and tie it all together. So let me pick another example. How about we go spruce and aspen? the spruce and aspen are increasing. You'll notice that there's a bigger slope here than here. Actually, let's look at the data. That's probably better. So after 1 year, the aspen is 20%, whereas the spruce is 1%. Then after 15 years, it's 50 and 43. So there's something competing there between the spruce and the aspen. So you could say, I believe that the aspen is better equipped to handle the environment than the spruce based on the data because it has more consistent growth over time than the spruce. That's not a great example. I think I like my first example better, so I guess I'll just repeat it. So the lichen decreases over time, right? It starts at 100%, goes all the way down to 0. My claim is that the lichen is going to disappear from this ecosystem based on the data of it starting at 100 and then after 30 years going down to 2%. So I believe that in the future, lichens will disappear from this ecosystem, right? That is my claim. My claim is that I think lichens going to go away. So then my reasoning is going to be that I think that the lichen's going to go away because, number one, lichens are used to break down rock to create soil, but there's already plenty of soil present. Number two, as the lichen species decreases, we see an increase in the other tree species, which means that there's probably less resources to grow around, right? So then that would be my reasoning, that I think that number one, it's a secondary succession situation so that the lichen's not as important. And then number two, it's being crowded out by other species. That would be my reasoning to justify my claim that I think it's going to go away. So I can say lichen's going to go away, but until I explain what that is, it's just a claim, right? I can back it up with evidence, but I have to kind of explain what that claim is. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, thank you, Grace. Okay, so that took a lot longer than I thought it would, so we don't have time to practice or finish our project. So again, this was your assign yourself. So if you have not finished your mini biome project, make sure that you go ahead and do that. Your exit ticket, like I said, located in assignments, just like last time, just like last couple times. 9.12 test review. There's about 6 questions. Think of it as a mini test. So if any of those questions feel really difficult to you, that's the concept you should revisit before the test tomorrow.
Mr. Raymond.
Uh-huh.
Well, if there's an exit ticket, then how come there's another one with the independent practice?
I don't know what that means.
I mean, like, how come there's another exit ticket, like, on the independent practice if there's already one?
I just took files. The files are kind of named whatever. I probably should have renamed them. But the exit ticket is a link to the form, as it's been the last couple of days, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you should be happy because the thing that we just worked on, this claim evidence reasoning, was the exit ticket for a different lesson.
Okay, now I get it.
Yeah. So I thought that was a little bit too difficult. I wanted to run through it first as a practice. But again, our exit ticket is the form, just like it's been the last couple of weeks. Go ahead, go to the link. It's only 6 questions. Make sure that you put your name in there. Thank you guys for being really good about it. I think last class I had like 88% completion, which was nice. I'd like to go to that 100% if we could. But yeah, thank you guys for your hard work today. I know this was really hard. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out because again, our exam is tomorrow. I'll try and sneak in one more claim evidence reasoning before your essay test on Wednesday, just so you have one more chance to practice it with something a little bit less specific before our real one on Wednesday. Oh, thank you, Mr. JJ.
Mr. Martinez,
Uh-huh.
for our claim evidence reasoning, we're just writing in the document what we talked about today in class.
Right, you're basically writing your answer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm not going to use the timer because we're running pretty much here at the end. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my form so I can see who's getting stuff turned in so that I can dismiss you. We do not have intervention this week because your teachers are going to be preparing for you guys to come back. We're going to be doing some training. So after this, we're pretty much finished. Okay, so I got my form pulled up. Got Desmond, I got yours. Thank you. Jacob, I got yours. Brighton, I got yours. Oh man, I'm loving these scores. Valiant, I got yours. Indy, I got yours. Casey, I got yours. Dominic, Hugo, Miss Morin, I got yours. Avery, Hamza, Cameron, Ayana, Timothy, Terrell, Ayla. Again, we are taking these exit tickets as your daily grades, so please, please, please make sure that you get it turned in before 3. Thank you guys for your hard work today. I know it was kind of a struggle trying to do this claim evidence reasoning. Like I said, we'll try and get one more practice in before our essay test on Wednesday. Thank you, Mizare. Thank you, Nevea. Jerisha. Kaylin. Hannah. Michael. Bye, Timothy. Thanks. Shakira. Buchanan. Josiah. Again, thank you guys for your hard work. Sorry, it was a little bit confusing. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording actually while we're here.